Welcome back. New Bad Batch spoiler breakdown here on Max Talks Movies. I'm Max Dinnerberg. Today, we're going to break down the final two episodes of season 2 of the Bad Batch. Only the third time, I believe, they have released two episodes at one time this season. We'll break down episode 15, The Summit, and episode 16, Plan 99, and what the future for the show will be. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown show every week. So please subscribe, ring the bell. New channel, comment down below. What are your thoughts on these two episodes of The Bad Batch? Did you overall like the season more or less than season 1? And do you want to see more of this show? Clearly, the show wants more seasons, but do you want to see more seasons of The Bad Batch? And also, please like the video, guys. The thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel as well in a huge way. It helps the algorithm out so more people can check out this video. So, as I said, this show did end the season showing us two episodes this week. The first episode, as I said, normally in week-to-week episodes like I've been doing for the show, I'll break down scene by scene what's going on. But because it is two episodes, I want to be a bit efficient today. We're just going to summarize kind of what happens in these two episodes. So the first episode is called The Summit, where we basically, it's the Bad Batch with Echo, now fully back with the Batch, trying to put basically like not a decoy, what do you call it? Like a tracker on the ship of Dr. Hemlock. So they can track where Crosshair is and the other clones. So they go on this mission, which completely half goes right, kind of half really does not go right at all, honestly, actually. So on this mission, there's a lot of really fun action set pieces here. And as they're in the middle of this mission, they run into young Saul Guerrero, which is great addition. Again, this is Saul Guerrero, the way he looks in Clone Wars, not the way he looks in Rebels or obviously in Rogue One. We kind of see young Saul Guerrero here in this episode, who also has his own plans of blowing up all the people here. Because at the same time as they're trying to track Dr. Hemlock, they're having a meeting, some of the big governors with Tarkin, Hemlock, and then you also get Krennic, which I'll get to in just a second later in the episode. Basically, Saul Guerrero is like, there's a lot of sacrifices that we have to make, and I think who cares that they're going to be rehired more people in these jobs? We just have to kill all these people. And obviously, Saul is an extremist, and while he's fighting for the right cause, he is doing things definitely the wrong way. And it's the same actor who also voiced him in Clone Wars, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, it's not. Never mind. But as we continue on, so they're having this banter. The Batch are doing their mission, and then we get that great scene with Tarkin, with Hemlock, and obviously we see Krennic. So Hemlock gives this whole kind of speech about cloning. One of the other governors even steps up and says, I fall alongside these clones. They're very loyal. But Tarkin obviously says, I fall alongside them too, and they're very unpredictable, a mind of their own. All of these things. And obviously he wants the clones to be worked on in his facility. We'll see if that works out for him. It looks like in the coming seasons. But we end that scene, and there's a character in the white shirt, and right away I was like, that's definitely got to be Krennic. And it was, because Tarkin asks about Project Stardust, which is a huge Easter egg, obviously, in your face, which is the project of the Death Star. Obviously, if you know Rogue One, Galen Erso, the plans themselves of the Death Star are called Stardust, because that's what Galen called his daughter Jyn in Rogue One. We got that cameo. We got that. It's kind of the same scene. I think it takes place in Rebels, I want to say. Oh yeah, it does. Not with Krennic, but I think Tarkin's talking to Thrawn in Rebels, and Tarkin's kind of like, we have to focus on Project Stardust. With the Project Stardust from Krennic is very promising. So we kind of get that same scene, except Krennic is here, and he has like I think 3 or 4 lines, and he is voiced by, at least on IMDb, does credit Ben Mendelsohn returning to voice Krennic, which is very exciting. But this whole thing, they blow up everything, and that includes the ship. So the Batch cannot track Hemlock, and they get this, and obviously the Empire realize that they're there. They get into this huge fight, and this is where Tech sacrifices himself. So Tech is the first member of the Bad Batch to die in the show. I think a lot of us thinking more of them would have died, because I think a lot of us thought this would be the last season of the Bad Batch. Obviously, based on how the show ended, it definitely feels like it probably shouldn't be the last season. But Tech dies at the end of this episode, and this ends off a pretty depressing beginning to the last episode, which is Plan 99, which is when the Batch go back to Sid's for some reason. It was kind of no explanation why they went back to Sid's. Maybe for the droid, but they just went back to Sid's for no reason. Omega got knocked out, and obviously they're very sad about Tech dying. And this is where Sid finally, as I've been saying now for 13 weeks now, Sid was going to turn on the Bad Batch, and she does in this episode. As she turns him over to Hemlock. And this is where they have a confrontation. Obviously, Wrecker and Hunter are taken in this episode, and this is where he just wants Omega. He asked them twice, like, we'll give, you guys can live and do whatever you want, but we just want Omega. We didn't come here for you. Obviously, Hunter says Omega's not coming with you, and then Omega gets offered the same negotiation. Omega doesn't, but Omega gets blasted. The kind of the taser-like thing that doesn't kill you, just knocks you out. So they do. Also, at this point, Omega is the one taken. They leave Hunter and Wrecker there with Echo, and Omega is taken back to the facility where God, I am just all over the place, where Hemlock was. Hemlock takes them back to their facility where Omega sees Lama Su. Then we cut back to the Batch, and there's no way to track them. And Hunter says, we're going to keep fighting until we find Omega. So that was the end of that part of it. Then we get the big cliffhanger of the episode, which is Omega sees Crosshair. She's like, what are you doing? She sees the Doctor. The Doctor kind of has a similar accent to Omega. It's not the same actress. But the Doctor, who was very much, they were clearly showing her for a reason a lot last week, the last couple weeks. She takes off her stuff and she tells Omega that we're sisters. So we'll see where this goes, because they left us on an absolute cliffhanger where there was absolutely no resolution to anything that happened this season. Overall, for me, this was an okay season of the Bad Batch. And I was actually kind of hoping this would be the last, because I don't love the format. I think the difference between this and Clone Wars is that I think Clone Wars has so many different areas where there aren't filler episodes. But I think this show really runs into the trap, especially this season, with a lot of filler-like episodes. I think this season did have a lot of great episodes, with especially the two with Crosshair and the two in the middle of the episode when they're on Coruscant. Those are really excellent episodes. I thought these episodes were solid, but I think 16 episodes is too much for the show moving forward. But I was kind of thinking this would be the last season, because they have not announced a season 3 yet to the show. Now, obviously, maybe they're going to wait for Star Wars Celebration, which is happening in, I think, 2 weeks. And there is a Bad Batch panel there, so I'm sure they'll announce a season 3 then, because if there's no season 3, then we are left on an absolute devastating and deflating cliffhanger. So overall, I kind of felt bland about the ending, how Omega gets captured. We find out the Doctor could be a sister, and the Batch are left in the dark with Tech being dead. It just wasn't the most exciting finale. Obviously, I don't need it to be whimsical or something. But when you spend 16 episodes watching a show, this is a 2-month commitment. Again, the first episode of season 2 dropped on January 4th. And here we are on March 29th. Talking about the finale. You kind of want to be rewarded for spending so much time weekly watching this show, and then you're kind of left on a cliffhanger. I think it could be a bit deflating. Now, I think if people who don't watch the show week to week and just binge it into season 3 will think it's really good, but I think for the week to week method, I think this method really did not help season 2 at all. So yes, I'm definitely intrigued to see where the batch go. And it has to be a season 3 because this last episode was literally just set up for season 3. So we'll see. Obviously, a stellar celebration when we get a season 3 again. Season 1 of the Bad Batch was in 2021, and season 2 was obviously in 2023. So kind of based on that format, and again, and with season 1 came out in May of 21, and this came out in January of 23. So that's a 1.5 year gap. So we'll see if the Bad Batch workers have already been working on it. We could get Bad Batch realistically midway through 2024, maybe 2025. But we shall see. But I want to thank you guys all for joining me on this week-to-week breakdowns all the way back since January 4th on this Bad Batch season 2 journey. I'm just addicted and I love Star Wars. So any Star Wars content I'm going to continue to break down here on this channel. Coming out the same time as this will be my Mandalorian review. So click that video as well. I'll be doing Mando reviews continually every single Wednesday until that show wraps up. And later in the year, obviously, I'll do the breakdowns of Ahsoka as well. But other TV show reviews, movie reviews, so please subscribe, ring the bell. Thanks for joining me as a member of the Bad Batch, and I'll see you guys soon.